This is Matador News, and these are today's headlines. President Trump's visit to India ends amid violent protests against the country's controversial citizenship law. And the latest numbers of people who are infected or dead from the coronavirus continues to climb. And Oregon Ducks basketball player Sabrina Ionescu breaks NCAA records.
Hello, this is Matador News. I'm Serim.
And I'm Christian Pineda.
President Trump has been on a two-day visit to India. Trump met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but left without any major announcements on trade or security. Trump was frank about Modi putting up on a tough trade fight and said their disagreements on tariffs wouldn't be resolved anytime soon.
Product being purchased by India. We just had a meeting. A lot of the press was there. I thought it was a great meeting with some of the biggest businessmen in the world that come from India. They're agreeing to invest billions and billions of dollars. You heard it for yourself.
Violent clashes in New Delhi between supporters and opponents of Modi's Hindu nationalist stance left 13 people dead. As of today, 150 people were in hospital with various blunt force and bullet injuries. 50 of those wounded were from firearm injuries. Modi's new citizenship policy discriminates against Muslims. Trump evaded questions about the protests when standing alongside Modi, saying only that it was up to India to handle the issue of religious freedom.
The number of coronavirus cases around the world is now more than 80,000, with more than 2,700 deaths. The virus has now reached the Middle East. Iran Deputy Health Minister says he has tested positive for the coronavirus a day after attending news conferences where he appeared sick. Iraj Harirchi wasn't wearing a mask during the conference, nor was he wearing one during a press brief given today. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the newly imposed travel restrictions are to protect the U.S.
As the President made clear, our first priority is to protect the homeland. We've imposed prudent travel restrictions and strong travel advisories to slow the spread of the virus to the United States.
He says he is concerned that Iran may have covered up vital details about the spread of the virus.
And in Europe, Italian authorities are scrambling to answer questions about how the country is handling the coronavirus, which is rapidly spreading through the northern parts of the country. The Italian government has put several cities on lockdown and closed public attractions and museums. Fear of the virus has caused foot traffic to slow to a crawl across much of the country. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte says they are working to control the spread. He admitted that a failure to contain the first reported case was what caused the spread in the first place. The majority of reported cases are in the Lombardy region of Italy. Italy now has the second most cases of the virus outside of Asia.
The White House has requested $1.25 billion in emergency funding to address the spread of the coronavirus. This is part of an effort to direct as much as $2.5 billion in total funds to bolster the response to the growing global crisis. The White House also requested that an additional $535 million in emergency funding for the prevention and treatment of Ebola be redirected to counter coronavirus. President Trump, on his way back from India, says the coronavirus is under control in the U.S., but Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer says the current administration is scrambling to deal with the coronavirus epidemic.
You may ask about the coronavirus, which is very well under control in our country.
The administration has no plan to deal with the coronavirus. No plan, and seemingly no urgency to develop one.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the funding effort is long overdue and completely inadequate to the scale of this emergency. Pelosi promised a House funding package that would better address the coronavirus issue.
Biotech company Moderna says its coronavirus vaccine is ready for its first tests. The American firm says it has shipped an experimental coronavirus vaccine named mRNA 1273 to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. It's been about 6 weeks since researchers started working on the immunizations. Initial trials of the potential vaccine could begin in April, but the process of testing and approvals could take at least a year. Moderna is not the only drug company trying to find immunization for the coronavirus.
Now let's go to Matador News reporter Chloe Hooper in the newsroom with the latest on the CSUN JADE event that talks about unhealthy eating behaviors.
JADE, Joint Advocates on Disordered Eating, is having an event on campus today at the USU to raise awareness on self-body image and the prevention of eating disorders. JADE trains student advocates to become expert in the different intersections that tie into the development of poor body image and disordered eating. Student peer educator Abigail, who didn't give her last name, says it is important that college students are aware of eating disorders and how they can affect someone.
Eating disorders are a surprisingly common mental health issue for a lot of people, especially on college campuses. So what JADE tries to do is create a more inclusive environment, to create an environment where people are comfortable sharing their stories and seeking help.
According to the National Eating Disorders Association, eating disorders typically begin between the ages of 18 and 21 years. 20% of women and 10% of men in college suffer from an eating disorder. Now let's go back to Serim with more news in the studio.
About 300 smoke alarms in more than 800 housing complexes across the LA area have recently failed inspection. Most of the housing complexes receive funding from the government. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development says 97% of the alarms in the buildings have failed at least twice in the last 3 inspections. Further issues, such as missing, broken, or inadequate smoke alarms, have occurred after the inspections. HUD officials say in most cases, the residents were disabling the alarms by taking the batteries out.
Now let's go to Amanda Alvarado for sports news.
Thanks, Christian. Vanessa Bryant surprised the Staples Center when she walked onto the court to speak at Kobe and Gianna Bryant's celebration of life. This was Vanessa's first public appearance since the tragic helicopter crash last month. She fought back the tears on the court as she told heartwarming stories about Gigi and Kobe that were full of laughter and love.
Mommy, Natalia, Bianca, Capri, and Daddy love you so much, Gigi.
The event
I will miss your sweet handmade cards, your sweet kisses, and your gorgeous smile. I miss you, all of you, every day. I love you.
The event lasted more than 2 hours and included performances and tributes to those who died in the crash. More than 35,000 roses were delivered to the Staples Center the day of the event. Oregon Ducks basketball player Sabrina Ionescu is the first Division I player in the NCAA to record 2,000 points and 1,000 assists and 1,000 rebounds and get her 26th career triple-double. This happened yesterday after she got the 9th rebound late in the third quarter against Stanford. Earlier in the day, she attended and spoke at Kobe and Gianna Bryant's memorial at the Staples Center. At the game, she said this game was for him and her late friend, and to do it on 2/24/20, it's huge. Now let's take it over to Bryce Oakes, who has the latest business news.
Thanks, Amanda. Another down day on Wall Street. The Dow Jones is down more than 750 points at last check. This comes a day after the average fell more than 1,000 points, or around 3.5%. This coincides with the growing number of coronavirus cases outside of China. During his visit to India, Trump said this was an unpredictable occurrence.
We lost almost 1,000 points yesterday on the market, and that's something, things like that happen and you have it in your business all the time. Had nothing to do with you. It's an outside source that nobody would have ever predicted.
This was the worst day in 2 years for the Dow, as well as the S&P 500. Amazon wants to start bringing you to their doors. The company is set to open its first full-size brick-and-mortar grocery store in Seattle today. The grocery store, called Amazon Go Grocery, has one really unique feature, and that's no cashiers. Amazon will still hire some real people to stock the shelves and take care of the upkeep of the grocery store. Customers can grab any products they need and scan it with a QR code, which automatically adds the items to their cart. Then Amazon will bill the customer's Amazon account once they step out the door. Fulton, Wisconsin voters were surprised when they went to vote in their local elections a few hours ago. Instead of the usual paper ballots, what was waiting for them was a digital tablet with a card reader on the side. The voters were also surprised by the Microsoft executives nearby who were there to answer any questions about the new voting method. The tablets were part of Microsoft's new program, Election Guard, which the company hopes to use as part of its Defending Democracy project. Microsoft says they're trying to avoid another Iowa situation by testing Election Guard in smaller, more controlled towns. The company has also made the software's code free and available to the public. Another program helping to prevent problems lies within CSUN Human Resources. Matador News reporter Yahaira Joaquin Flores is in the newsroom to tell us about a program that helps faculty and students learn how to respond to fraud.
Thank you, Bryce. CSUN held its fraud prevention workshop today. Director of Internal Audit, Howard Lutwak, organized the event. He says the different types of fraud exist in the university's environment, but there are ways to prevent it. CSUN's risk manager, Lisa Tellez, says students need to know about online fraud.
And there's different things that go on fraud, right? There also might be cyber, which is emails. They call it phishing. That might be something that you need to be aware of so that you don't answer those emails and give information that should not be held by somebody else.
A few forms of fraud in higher education include phishing, falsifying time reporting, and misinformation on resumes. Reporting from the newsroom, I'm Yahaira Joaquin Flores. Back to Amanda in the studio with the latest in health news.
Colgate is releasing a new line of products catering to a large group of consumers who are more health and eco-conscious. The launch Colgate Zero toothpaste contains mouthwash and toothbrush. The line of products will all be organic, vegan, and gluten-free, with no preservatives and artificial flavors. Products are expected to give your teeth the same oral protection in spite of the new ingredients. The American Dental Association gave the stamp of approval to the Colgate Zero toothpaste for kids, but has not confirmed of the products made suitable for oral health. Disney is now offering Impossible Burgers to the U.S. theme parks and cruise lines to give its consumers more plant-based alternatives. The Impossible Meat menu will make its first soup appearance at the California Adventure Food and Wine Festival on February 28th. New food items include the Petite Impossible Burger, Impossible Cheeseburger, Mac and Cheese, and the Impossible Meat Submarine. Plant-based foods markets are expected to be worth $2.5 billion in 3 years. In Japan, the oldest living man has died at age 112. Chitsu Watanabe was born March 5, 1907. The Guinness World Record officially confirmed him as the oldest living man on February 12th this year. He died on Sunday, February 23rd, before he could claim the title of the oldest man ever, which lived to be 116 years old. Now back to Bryce for entertainment news.
Harvey Weinstein has been found guilty on 2 of the 5 charges he faced. He was convicted of criminal sexual assault in the first degree based on testimony of former Project Runway production assistant Miriam Haley, and rape in the third degree based on testimony of aspiring actress Jessica Mann. One witness and former actress Dawn Dunning says this is a huge victory.
He's a convicted rapist, and that's something that's going to follow him for the rest of his life. I think this is a huge victory for women, and hopefully the start of a larger cultural movement.
Weinstein was also acquitted of 2 charges of predatory sexual assault. His lawyer says he just kept repeating he was innocent. Weinstein will also be sentenced on March 11th and is also facing charges in Los Angeles. Justin Bieber beats Elvis Presley U.S. chart record on the Billboard Hot 200. He is now the youngest solo artist at 25 years old to have 7 #1 albums. His current album, titled Changes, sold 231,000 copies and topped the UK chart. Elvis was only 26 years old when he got his 7th #1 album with Blue Hawaii back in 1961. The South Korean pop group BTS is asking for fans to stay away from their upcoming shows to prevent the spread of coronavirus. This week, the band is set to film several TV shows in Seoul, marking the release of their latest album. The band recently streamed a press conference from a virtually empty hall due to fears over the virus. South Korean broadcasters also made the decision to go ahead with their shows, but without studio audiences to help contain the outbreak. So far, 7 people have died from the coronavirus in South Korea, with over 760 infected. Prior to their Korean TV specials, BTS will appear on Jimmy Fallon and James Corden. That's all for entertainment. Let's take it back to Christian for the weather.
Thanks, Bryce. In Southern California weather, the current temperature in Northridge is 73 degrees. The temperature is expected to drop to 54 degrees tonight. The high for today is 83 with sunny skies and mild wind. Warm weather is expected until the end of the week at about 85 degrees. Air quality management says that air quality today is moderate with visibility at 10 miles.
2 cheetah cubs are born for the first time by IVF at the Columbus Zoo. Smithsonian zookeepers say their biological mother is 6.5-year-old Kababi. Keepers say her eggs were harvested and fertilized in November and transferred to the surrogate mother Itzy. The collected semen came from a male cheetah living in a wildlife center in Texas. Scientists say this is a huge breakthrough that could defend against the extinction of cheetahs in at least 13 countries. Thanks for watching Matador News. I'm Serim.
I'm Christian Pineda.
I'm Amanda Alvarado.
And I'm Bryce Oaks.